In this video, we're going to learn how to use the Optimize Sequence and Optimize Entry Exit tools. And those are found up here at the top in the red tool group. One says Optimize Sequence and the other one says Optimize Entry and Exit. Perhaps the easiest way to demonstrate this would be to make a new workspace and to create some shapes. And so why don't we go ahead and create a square and then create a triangle and then create like a circle. And essentially what we'll do is we'll select all of these shapes and we'll tell them to be stitched in with thread. And so you can notice when they're stitched in with thread that there's a small dotted line that kind of connects from one to the next. And if you watch it stitch out, you can see how it sews the square and how when it finished the square, it looks like it jumps from the end of the square to the beginning of the triangle. And when it finishes the triangle, it jumps from the end of the triangle on over to the ellipse. And so each one of these shapes technically has, if you use the shape tool, a green entry point and a red exit point. And this software has assigned them when I, converted them into embroidery, the green entry and exit points. Well, if you make these shapes where they are like almost touching each other or do touch each other, and when you're embroidering, you don't really want it to get to the end of that square and have to jump on over to the triangle. So right at that point, if I can kind of find the dotted line, that's where it finished, and it jumped to get on up to that triangle. But technically, all that really needed to happen was if the square's exit point was moved to here, it would align with the connection of the triangle, and therefore it doesn't trim or jump, it simply connects to the next. And so same thing with the triangle. If it was set to start here and finish there, and then finally making the oval start where basically where the red point, you can make the red point down at the bottom, but the entry point needs to be there. So now that I've done that, the design is all connected. So the entry and the exit point of the square naturally connects to the entry point of the triangle. The exit point of the triangle naturally connects to the entry point to the circle. And that's me doing it all manually just to explain how it happens. Now the good news is we have a tool that can do all that for us. So if we make another set, so let's just do a circle and a triangle, and make them like so that they are kind of like touching each other. But when we create the embroidery, so if I select all of these embroideries and I convert them into thread, so when I first first create it, the square is made to end kind of by default at the bottom, and then the triangle starts over here and it ends kind of by default over here, and then it jumps to the circle. And so although they're connected, their entry and their exit points are not. And so if I select those three shapes, this is the point of this video, is up here there's an Optimize Entry and Exit tool. So if you have a series of shapes and you've made them touch each other, then all you should need to do is click Optimize Entry and Exit, and now notice there's no dotted lines. And if you watch it stitch out, the square naturally was repathed to come to the beginning of the triangle, and the triangle was repathed to connect to the circle, and so everything was connected by using Optimize Entry and Exit points. So that's one of the tools that we were going to talk about here, Optimize Entry and Exit. Now another one that it can do, and let's just do like a square and then do an ellipse and then do a triangle. And notice that I did connect them, right? So that they could be connected. And if I select them as they are right now and I fill them in, but if I try and use Optimize Entry and Exit, there's still some jumps. Why is that, Trevor? Well, because there's sequence, because technically this shows the square first, then the circle, then the triangle. And that's because of their sequence in the sequence order here. Rectangle, then ellipse, then triangle. And that's the sequence that I drew them. So they are, by default, when you draw something, it will be the last thing in the order. That goes to the end. And if I draw another one, that goes to the end. So what we're talking about is changing the sequence, and if it went square, triangle, sort of ellipse, that would be better for connecting them. And so if I select these three shapes that currently go square, triangle, circle, and I use optimize sequence, the software will find the best way to connect them. Now, the way this works is based upon whatever comes first in your selection. So the whole tool will be optimizing the sequence based upon the square being first. So if I click on the tool right now, the square will still be first, but notice now the triangle is next, and then the circle is next. Now, that didn't fix the entry and exits. There's still jumps here, but now if I use the optimize entry and exit tool, it can connect them because it's now connecting the circle to the triangle and the triangle to the circle. And so I hope I made that clear, but that is how you can use the optimize sequence tool and the optimize entry and exit point tool.